Thank you. That's cool.
Moved his office here in town.
Yeah, I heard that.
And
That's good.
I was thinking this would be a good time this evening to have that discussion about the parking.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people about it, and
Is he still?
I don't think that
No.
I don't think that it's necessary.
Is he?
Me personally,
Tell him I said hi. Will you?
Kyle, as I've gone
I
through
like
it,
Ron a lot.
and
Good guy.
there's been a lot of times where I've seen opens. How you doing, big guy?
Hanging in there?
If you know,
Good, good.
if there's specific times, I mean, I just don't think it's necessary at this time. I know there's gonna be some people that are actively against it.
Amy, how, you are always.
Well, I don't make decisions on what someone else thinks. I try to go what's best. I know I've heard a lot of complaints over the years. I park
But
out
with his height as parking is downtown, if you take that away from them during the day,
Well, I'm just thinking of the people that aren't even a lot far that drive by and say there's no.
You better get it to your seat. Sorry. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started, everyone. I am the only one here tonight from Committee of Community Economic and Development. I did get asked by Christina West tonight to head the meeting. We only have one item on the agenda, and that is with NDS Portage County Housing 1, 2, and 3. And if I could have Carmen and Matt set in for this committee meeting, if that's okay, just to help get this through and if there's any questions, okay? Go ahead. Mr. Bogo, would you like to come up to the platform? I have on, I have the NDS Portage Housing 1, 2, and 3 satisfaction, if you will give us an update.
I will. If I start to run at the mouth a little bit, just tell me to be quiet and we'll try. So these Portage Housing 1, 2, and 3 were 3 phases of a single-family, low-income housing tax credit program that was developed and put in service in the early 2000s, over the course of about 5 years. In total, there were 85.
You're good.
That's just Paul.
Okay.
You're fine.
I knew I was magnetic. but
Take
come on.
cover.
In total, there were 85 units built across the county in Ravenna, Kent, Ravenna Township, and the village of Wyndham. 25 of the 85 were in the city of Ravenna. Starting in the 16th year of their existence, this was a special program offered by the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, and we were one of the first groups in the state to take advantage of it. And starting in the 16th year of their existence, they were available to be sold to their tenants, a long-term homeownership program. Over the course of the last few years, we've sold a total of 14 of the city's 25 units, as well as multiple units in Kent, Ravenna Township, and the village of Wyndham. To help us develop those 3 phases, those 85 homes, the city of Ravenna loaned the projects a total of $310,000. 110 for the first phase, 100 for the second phase, and 100, nope, wrong community, 90 in the first phase, 100 in the second phase, and 150 in the third phase. Those loans were used as subordinate financing. The notes were cash flow based. And for those of you that are familiar with the low-income housing tax credit project, there's not often a lot of payments made on that kind of soft debt. It is included, however, because it provides additional return to the equity investors, because they can pass through passive losses on not only the credits, but on the losses from the interest that accrues on the subordinate debt. That's the big ticket in this particular request of ours. So you loaned $340,000 for all 3 phases. As of right now, you've been paid back $422,000 $48.92, more than the original principal, which is fine, because they did carry an interest rate. However, that interest rate on all the loans was written at market rate. It's a feature of the tax credit rules that we had to be at market rate in order to capture that interest in the basis of the project. So what's been happening for now 20-some years is it's been accruing and accruing and accruing, and it compounds biannually, twice a year. So while we've made $422,000 worth of payments, we've not dug into the principal at all, nor have we cleared the accrued interest because it continues to accumulate by design. As we sell off houses, the properties become a little more difficult to run because I'm sure anybody who's had property before, the less you have, the harder it is to make them go. And by design, we continue to shed our inventory as we sell them to the tenants that were living in them. And so as we proceed to try to sell the remaining 11 units in the city of Ravenna, it becomes harder to structure the deals for the buyers because, again, the loan balances continue to go up and up and up and up as that interest accrues and then compounds. So what we're here tonight asking is if the council would consider satisfying those 3 notes and mortgages, because we did pay back all of the principal we originally borrowed, plus a little bit of interest, in this case $22,000. And that would give us more flexibility as we seek to wrap up the sale of all of those units over the next few years.
So how much are we looking at to satisfy? So you're saying that there are 3 homes left that are in the city of Ravenna?
There are 11 left in the city of Ravenna.
Okay, so I guess I got a little confused.
Well, that's because I talk too much.
So we had 25 in the city, and I have 14.
14 were sold.
14 were sold. Okay, I see what you're saying. So then 11 are left in the city.
That's correct.
Are they all in the city, or are they in the township too?
These 11 are in the city.
In the city?
This inventory that you have in front of you is just the city units. There are another 60 units throughout Kent, Wyndham, Ravenna Township.
Oh, I see him right here. Okay, and the total of that would be how much?
The total of that.
The amount of those 11 homes, is that what is presented down here?
The sale price is not, I haven't listed anything about the sales price or anything like that. The soft debt that's on the property
Of those 11?
of those 11 it changes as it goes up. So every time we do a sale, we take a snapshot of the existing debt on the property. And for the most part, the first mortgage is a fixed amount because it's amortizing. The soft debt continues to rise as the interest accumulates and compounds. So we take a picture, we divide it by the number of houses left, and that becomes the necessary amount that has to be paid off when the unit is sold.
Are you asking to forgive the interest,
I'm asking for a satisfaction of both
the principal and the
principal and
interest?
the interest.
You can't really say at any given moment how much that is. You do have the information somewhere, but
I do. In preparing the past payments, I neglected to find out what our current balances are today.
Aren't property values well overpriced right now? Like what they're selling
I'm not
for?
qualified to speak to that.
I'm just trying to, I guess I'm still trying to understand this. I'm sorry, I wasn't given enough information because I just found out about the committee tonight, so I'm sorry if I sound
That's
out there.
because we're not being given a fixed amount that we are being asked to satisfy.
Well, the principal is fixed amount.
It's the 400 and
It's 340,
340.
right. There is then on top of that an accrued interest amount.
And the interest is
I
which
did not
is,
bring with me, and that's my fault.
And the interest is compounded biannually.
But we've collected from those we've sold that total amount?
Yes,
And so I think the theory you're presenting to us is we've already in the black, as
Yes.
it were. But I guess my question is, maybe it's an equity question, for those 14 who satisfied their payments,
there's still going to be,
they still owe some of those?
yes,
Oh, okay, so this would cover everybody.
yes.
But again, the equity, do some owe a lot more than others?
Well, we're trying to keep that from happening. And I think
Okay.
one of the things that we're most concerned about is that at our current pace, when we sell the last house, we will still owe you money. And there's no way around that. There will still be a fairly notable outstanding balance and no assets against it.
Okay.
will these homes be sold, can there be any way that these homes are only sold for homeowners and not rentals?
That is absolutely the condition and requirement.
I was just curious if,
They are not allowed to rent them.
Mike, how much money are you asking for us to
Wait,
walk away
he
from?
doesn't have that figure
he doesn't know,
tonight.
we don't know.
30,000? You think it's gonna be?
Well, if you go,
100,000?
no. If you look at the total accrued interest, it's significantly more than that.
Yeah,
And it's money you'll never see.
yeah.
I just didn't bring the number, and I apologize.
So basically, I'm go ahead, I'm sorry.
It seems like we need some more information.
Understood.
Yeah,
But it seems like you're trying to close the books on this, right?
Well, we're still selling them, and
Right.
any unit that's not sold is still an affordable rental, and will stay that way until the end of time. That's our requirement for at least another 15 years. But
But it takes the cities, it takes the commitment back to the city out off the table.
Yes. And then allows us more flexibility when we go to structure those sales.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And we are making this request of Portage County, Ravenna Township, City of Kent.
Okay, and because they have some too that haven't been
Yeah, you
sold.
can, I don't know what you were,
We only have the 25 in Ravenna.
as far as the units go, and then this, did you get this sheet?
No.
Okay. This also shows everybody else's investment in the prop.
Like
in
the
in
aggregate for
projects
each
over time.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the county put in 310, Kent put in 75, and Ravenna Township put in 150.
With this sheet, what is the last column for date? What does this represent?
They sold.
Sold.
Date they sold. Okay.
Yep.
You had mentioned in your discussion there was 3 properties? Or you want all 11 properties to be sold? I mean, ultimately, we want them to be sold, but,
We want them all to be sold.
right.
The satisfaction would apply to all 11 units that are left.
So would this be money out of Ravenna's bank account
No,
to satisfy these?
no.
We
It
would
just
just
would
be
not.
Wouldn't be coming in.
Getting any additional payments as the remainder of the units sold.
How are the other communities moving on this issue? Like,
They're in the same boat you are.
but
They're
have they made a
considering it.
decision yet?
They have not.
yeah, I can't move this forward personally yet until I have more information. There's a lot of gray areas, I guess, that we would need answered.
Yeah,
Some more information, maybe.
so we know for sure, one of the things is we need to tell you the total outstanding balance. Accrued interest, principal, the whole 9 yards. So we know we need to provide that. What other kinds of information would you like?
I have a question. Is one of the reasons that part of what this interest might go to is providing more opportunities down the road? Like, is it going to fund projects down the road?
Any
mean-
recaptured funding that goes back to the city is to be used for additional projects down the road, absolutely.
Right. So if we agree to this, then we diminish that opportunity.
There would be less than perhaps there would be. You will not get paid the full amount. I'll tell you that right now. You will not get paid the full amount. There isn't enough, it compounds too quickly.
Right, so as we wait to do this, the problem kind of gets
It
exacerbated.
does. But You are correct.
So the people that are living in these houses now, is their intent to purchase these, or they are just going to plan on renting these for so long?
Sure, it's a little of both.
Okay. And I'm just curious, and like I said, if it's, they're not in, if it's just going to be rentals or.
Well, they are rentals now.
I know, but if it was intent to buy, if it's a like rent-to-own type house, like a lease to purchase.
Not in what you would traditionally think, but at any given time when the buyer thinks they're ready, then we will sell them that unit.
So if we satisfy this, how will it help you to work with those renters to buy? What leverage will that give you to help sell that home?
It allows me to lower their must-pay debt on the front side of the deal. So as you live there, to speak to what you said, Amy, as you live there, you get equity credit, not dollar for dollar, and it's not fixed in terms of you $500 rent, 100 of it goes towards the purchase. That's not how it works. But you accumulate equity credit, which is the difference between the must-pay debt and the price of the house as determined by appraisal when you're ready to buy. And then you get that benefit to help you buy the house.
Wouldn't it not then, since the appraisals are through the roof right now, wouldn't it not benefit the people that want to buy it to wait a little bit until these inflated appraisal values?
Can't speak to that.
It's a juggling act because the interest that they're not paying keeps accruing, and the rates are hard to judge.
Well, I get that. I completely understand. But what I'm saying is that the city is benefiting off of that compounded interest to realize other projects down the road.
If we collect, and I don't know how much we'll collect on, what the estimate would be, it's hard to.
I cannot,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I know the houses that you guys have listed recently, they've sold rather quickly.
Yeah,
So,
we haven't had any trouble getting them.
yeah.
And again, these are less likely to be listed than they are to work with the tenant that's already living there.
Which was the original program.
Yes.
When they were built, it
Yes.
was for tenant to occupy. After certain years, the debt got eliminated, correct? Or to some level. The cost of it was considerably
Yeah, the
less.
price is still the price, but the debt that the buyer needed to be able to afford was significantly less than market.
Fortunately, value has gone up in homes for 20 years.
Sure.
So if they didn't act quick enough, then, and I know there's been turnover in some of those units,
In some of them, yeah.
but originally the city didn't pull money out of their account for this program.
Well, it's part of the revolving loan fund. As usual.
So-
Which speaks to your point.
We're going to reduce our RLF balance.
Correct.
So
Your future potential RLF balance, not your existing RLF balance.
last week, we passed a couple of things. One of them was a down payment assistance. Would that apply for these people?
Probably not.
Probably
I would
not?
not double dip on that.
Is it based on income and that kind of measurement, or
No, it's that
are they
because
excluded?
They wouldn't need it. The tax credit for sale properties are easier to structure than a market rate sale. I wouldn't want to double dip on that program and the down payment assistance,
Okay.
because I believe we can make those sales happen without it.
What's the benefit of the city walking away from the debt versus just riding it out?
I don't know that I have a good reason.
I mean, obviously, the whole program was structured for home owner occupancy.
Yeah.
There's been several
only
that have
thing-
taken advantage of the program.
Oh, yeah, quite a few. So the only thing is I'm uncomfortable getting to the end where we owe money and don't have assets against it.
Anybody else have any questions on this? Okay, any other questions for us, Mike?
Other than I would assume we'll try to get back on next month's
Yeah, we'll keep it in committee if you two are okay with this, since Christina isn't here.
That's fine. I'd like to see those other numbers
Yeah.
that
Sure.
you put together.
Sure.
Do you know when the next compound, when it compounds again?
I'll look. I think it's June and, June and January, but let me double check.
Okay, thank you, Mike, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, any management updates? Seeing none, I will adjourn this committee at 6:20. And I think I'm next, hold on. Let me get my sheet, sorry. Am I next?
Yes.
Sorry, I was looking for my, thank you. I didn't have my agenda. Okay, sorry. All right, at 6:25, I will call Public Health and Safety Committee to order. I do have my committee members that are here tonight. I only have a couple items on the agenda tonight. First item is the assistance to firefighters grant through FEMA with a 5% match, and that would be our Chief Chappell. If you want to go ahead, we've done this same one before, correct?
We go either for equipment, or this year we're gonna go for health and safety.
Health and safety?
So, yeah, so like physicals, workout equipment, stuff like that, that is what the grant is keying up on this year, and that's where we're at. So
Okay.
I'm going for the micro, which is, the max is 75,000, so the most I would get would be a 5% match of 75,000, what we'd be asking for.
So 75,000. Okay,
I have the totals because I haven't got all the quotes in yet.
Mm-hmm.
The max of the max of the grant is 75,000.
okay. I'm okay with that. We are okay with the match, Tammy, on this? It's
It
already,
usually comes out of a small can.
yeah, I'm just making sure. I'm sure it is. I mean, we do it every year. I was just, dotting.
Right, you've got the 5% match at not to exceed 2,500 on your tracking sheet.
Yeah, it's probably
But it'd
about
be more
what
than that,
we guesstimated what
75.
we were at. When we kind of got some verbal communication through vendors and whatnot, that's kind of where we were alluding to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tyler or Matt, do you have a problem with this going forward?
No, I'm good for it.
Okay, and again, thank you for going after these grants. You do a nice job with that, so. All right, we'll go ahead and move this forward. Next item is the contract with Axon Enterprise Incorporated for tasers, and this is from the police department. Jake?
This is to update our entire taser fleet, I guess I would say. It's not a lease, but it's an upfront payment, and it will give us 15, the top of the line, brand-new tasers. It gives us evidence, software evidence that comes with all tasers now, which we do not currently have. So each time the taser trigger is pulled, it logs evidence. It logs whether the probes have attached to the person, and these are different, where our old tasers will shoot 2 tasers. These new ones have a bank of 10 tasers to pull the trigger from. So if one doesn't connect, they can pull the trigger again and another probe will come out. And the evidence will actually mark whether the taser probe hit and there was a connection during those, and it logs how long the taser was applied. So it really covers everybody's, log case. So they've had a lot of people who said that, well, they hold the trigger 15 seconds. I rode the taser 15 seconds. But this saves us from that. No, you rode it for 5, and it was only in contact for 2.
Wow.
And then everything for the first 5 years, everything for those tasers is free. Every cartridge we spend, all the training stuff that we send out, we want new training cartridges, they send us training cartridges. If a taser breaks, we send it out, they send us a new one. It comes with virtual reality goggles for our training purposes, so we can go through scenarios with the new tasers, so the guys can really learn how to use it and what they're capable of. At the end of the 5 years, the tasers are ours. And we can continue to buy the bundle and get everything for free, or we can just buy it as needed.
How do you think they will update in 5 years? Will they be worth anything in 5 years?
These are probably worth, it's hard to tell, because the taser we're using now are almost second generation. These are brand new, and they've really tried to stop making our tasers, but some of the larger counties like LA County and California said, if you stop making these tasers, we use them, we're just gonna stop using your taser. So they keep using it. And we're kind of stuck in that cycle of using these older tasers, which are probably 3 generations removed from the new ones. Now we get the new ones.
Okay.
And so, I think they'll probably expand somewhat. Who knows what they're gonna come out with. It's like trying to figure out what the next phone's gonna be.
Right.
They always come out with new ones so they can sell you new cartridges and sell you new holsters.
Make the old ones obsolete. Okay, and what is the cost for these?
114,000.
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years. Is the committee okay with that?
Budgeted?
Yes.
Yes. I'm okay moving it forward.
I'm okay.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move both of those items forward. Is there any management update? Anything else? No? Okay, I'll go ahead and end the committee at 6:25.
6:25, I'll call Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting to order. One item on the agenda this evening, and we're just getting into warm weather, but we're already talking about salt for next winter. So this is the purchase agreement, a 1-year purchase agreement with Ravenna School District, the Village of Manaway, PMHA, Maplewood Career Centers, and Access Family Services, starting October 1st to purchase salt again this winter from the city. It would be at a cost of $47.84 per ton with a 10% surcharge for a total cost of $52.62 per ton as they use our salt. Something we do every year. Any questions, concerns?
Yeah, I just thought of something. Is it profitable or not to go for more than 1 year?
I think with the fluctuation of salt prices.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's not. I mean,
Kind of like trying to hit the gas and electric aggregate.
Okay, well, that's a coin
think.
flip.
yeah.
Okay. Yes, I know this is a necessity.
Uncertain, so. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move that item forward. Nothing else on the agenda, so at 6:27, I will adjourn Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting.
Okay, it's 6:27. I'll start with utilities. The first thing is replacement of a clear well motor, aerator, and mixer in the water treatment plant. The motor's been rebuilt a few times, and it's actually time to completely be replaced because it's an intricate part of the operation. So all these things, they work together. If they could be replaced as soon as they can, that would be very helpful to the department. So if there are any comments or questions pertaining to this. Okay, if not,
No, I'm good to move this one
Okay.
forward, Paul.
Sounds like it's important to do this before it gets too warm, because I guess
It's actually a requirement for the EPA.
yeah, I was,
We need it.
because,
Sure, sure,
yeah,
yeah.
because
Yes, yes.
if it quits, they'll be in drastic.
And so we're going to hold a special meeting on the committee of the whole meeting night for this, because I think this was delayed a little bit.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Or else I wouldn't have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing is the contract for the King Street project for the water line to be replaced. And at the same time, the shut-off boxes, the valves, And those would be included, including surveying, tracing, and if any sidewalks have to be replaced at certain locations, that will be done as well. Part of this is a loan, part of it's a grant. Well, this is something that's, I consider it very important. Because some of the water services throughout this town are deteriorating quite a bit. No one wants to go without water when it can be prevented. So are there any comments pertaining to this project? Yes.
I would just add that the sanitary sewer is part of this project.
Okay.
So it's in essence a two-phase project. Sanitary sewer will be installed, all the residents will be connected, and then the water line construction will begin.
Thank you. I didn't realize that part.
I'm good to move this forward, Paul, if you are.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'll adjourn this part of the meeting at 6:31.
All right, we'll be convening the planning committee meeting at 6:31. I'm just missing Ms. West. Paul, would you like to sit in?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing that we have is consideration of a ballot initiative for November. This is coming on because the voters did not approve the measure in May for the Safety Center project. So this is to discuss or consider putting this on for the November election. And I'm assuming the timing is important here because we have to have so many reads before August.
I don't know that there's any specific requirement for a number of readings.
I thought that it had to go through 3 reads before it could go on to the ballot.
Yeah, we did that the last time, and we had a public hearing. I don't know if there is a specific requirement that this go through 3 readings.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it. I just know we did that the last time.
It'll be the will of council.
Do we feel like we're ready for this? Do we feel like it's,
Well, let me just say that there was a committee that was established quite a while ago when we started looking into the ballot initiative. It was an administrative committee. That committee met on May 19th as a sort of a debrief after the election. And it was the recommendation of that committee that we put this on in November as it was put on in May. One of the good things about that is we don't have to rewrite a lot of the ordinance. It's just we have to target a different election. But I think it's something we discussed in the committee, whether it should be pared down or changed or any way. And the feeling was for November it'd be the same as in May. But certainly it's up to council how you want to proceed.
I did have a resident reach out to me and wanted to express, had an educated conversation with me, and was very, supportive of a lot of things that we do. One of the things the individual wanted me to know why they voted against the levy was he felt that it didn't make Ravenna hospitable for businesses to come and the residents, that it's the perception when you are looking to relocate here, the amount of the income tax is too high. And he felt that looking as an outsider, being new in this area, he'd reached out to me and just wanted to share his comment that he didn't feel that he saw enough promoting Ravenna, Ravenna promotes, like, as far as economic development, promoting its downtown. And he also felt that we should have more people should be aware of the things that our downtown has, what Ravenna offers. He said that the sell of the levy wasn't there. And he said that looking at it as an economic view, he felt that it was poorly done. And he was concerned on the economic part of it, on what businesses would look at coming into our community. And he also felt that as maybe the economic development department could have possibly, I don't know how to put this, but he said have more input of the downtown and promoting Ravenna more. When he gets on our website, he's looked at our website, and he had said that it's really not a lot of information out there. And he said, so if I'm, coming here from another community and and I'm a business and I see the tax and I see, and I'm looking at it in general, I would think, why would I want to move here? So he just said it was just a hard sell, and he was concerned about it. So that was feedback that I received from somebody who does live here in Ravenna. Something just, I never thought of it in that way, I guess. I'm not saying, I'm against it, or I'm just concerned that are we where we need to be? We're wanting to, sell this levy, but have we really presented, I know the committee's worked super hard, that the people who did do this, and I'm not saying that, it wasn't worked on hard, but again, he kind of referred to it as chess and taking the pieces that we have currently, and if we had to, how would we position and, fix the things that need to be fixed right away, that wouldn't burden on the taxpayers, and so that we could gradually do some of the stuff we needed to do. So, I think there's two ways of looking at it. Let's get this done, let's get it over with, because it's only going to cost more money as we go. And also, do we want to have the highest tax in the area? So
We already do.
yeah.
We already are at the highest income tax level.
We discussed all of this at the very beginning at council, and I was the one who raised the concern that we would be significantly higher than most communities in the state, let alone in our, but the alternative was a property tax, and nobody
Oh, I know.
seemed to think that that was a viable option. And to be clear, we just had a budget commission meeting. We don't have the money to do this.
Right.
So we've known all along that this would be a burden for those who work or live in the city to pay a higher income tax. But we thought, the council thought, at least before the May election, that was something, we thought was necessary. I don't know what the alternatives would be, other than scaling down the project to
Possibly an
reduce it.
incremental plan.
don't understand what-
Moving, maybe doing what we can afford, a section at a time. I know that's happened in other cities. Maybe they could afford to move the police department first or the fire department first, and then as you accumulate money, in my perspective, and maybe it's unpopular, and I know that we don't get a lot from the cannabis revenue to pay for this project by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that it would say a lot to voters that we were willing to do whatever we could to mitigate expenses by committing that money to that project, I just don't think, like, if you try to play devil's advocate, I don't see the city really putting up anything at all. I mean, I get we can't fund the whole project. I wish we could. And, you know, I would like to say again, and I think there's not enough times that we can say it, even if we sold Sunbow tomorrow for twice what we paid for it, we wouldn't even have enough for a down payment on this project. So it's not, I really keep seeing that over and over again, that if we wouldn't have bought Sunbow, we could have done this project, and it's not even a comparison. But I do think that, you know, doing a good job, like making an effort with fidelity to the voters, that we are, even if it's not enough, we're putting what we can. And, you know, I'm just going to say this, that, you know, Ravenna is a city also that has a lot of residents that live at or below the poverty line. So when you talk about any increase whatsoever, it really stretches people that are already making unimaginable choices. And there's a lot of things the city of Ravenna has no control over. We have no control over gas and oil prices and energy prices and what the state says our property taxes and what we need to pay. We have no control over that. So we have to be careful when we discuss and we message and we say, oh, but it's only a few hundred or 400 or 500 more a year, and just be sensitive about who we're speaking about and speaking to. Because we have enough living at the poverty level in this city that our entire school district gets free breakfast and lunches, which is pretty much something that only happens in huge impoverished metropolitan districts. So we're trying to make the most out of a little, but the little bit that we do have, I feel like there needs to be intentional discussion to putting it towards this project, because it is important. Because those buildings are, I can't even, the list is a mile long of the reasons that we need to have those new facilities. And I think with more time, we can get that message across to the voters. I feel like maybe some people didn't know. I actually had a voter say, why do we need a new police station? Isn't that kind of new? And I said, that's actually our oldest building. It's over a century. And they were surprised. They're like, oh, I wish I would have known that. So, I mean, maybe just getting that stuff out there, but we have to start putting our money up too. We just can't, I feel like we just can't put that all on the residents.
So the idea of committing the cannabis money, I think as a sort of a gesture, that's one way to do it. But if you want to offset, let's say, ask for a reduced amount of income tax increase, what that will do is our bond agent will tell us that's not a reliable source of income, not like a tax. And therefore, we'll get a less favorable rate on our bonds, which probably would just offset the whole idea of using the cannabis money.
Well, and I know I talked about this with Tammy, is that we can put it in a fund that doesn't say safety, but it's like a capital improvement line that we could put it in. I'm not saying finance. I'm just saying that we just.
But I guess what I'm trying to understand, how are we selling it to our residents if it's the same rate of income tax increase?
I'm
Just
just
by
saying,
saying
have
we're
we
putting-
looked at other options of doing it in phases?
Well, that's a different discussion, and that's certainly one we could discuss. I think over time, it'll be a lot more expensive to do it that way. Maybe, and I don't know as much about that type of project, but I think, Mr. Finney could probably address what the challenges would be to doing it in a phased-in fashion.
And I just, I don't know if this matters, but, if we are giving up money from our Community and Economic Development Committee, could any of that money have helped, pay money down the road? I mean, they're saying that money may not ever come, but theoretically, that's a lot of houses out there that could sell.
Well, that's a revolving loan fund.
I
It has
know,
to be
but-
used for that purpose.
Yeah, but still, that's money that could help benefit our city some way, you know?
Well, it has to be used for specific.
Right, I
purposes.
understand, but it's just like the perception, if people see this and, you know, we're needing a new fire department, I mean, I don't know, I just think the perception, not everybody understands where this stuff comes from.
And at our subcommittee, that was our discussion, is we all agreed we could have done a better job. We're first-timers at this. I don't know that the police and fire department were on board as the way we thought they would be on board. We have a couple council members that were not on board either. So we really need a united front if we're going to move forward with this, or we are all wasting our time. There was a discussion cutting out City Hall and police and just build a fire station. But that was also discussed, this is a one-shot deal. We're not going to go back to the voters in 5 years and ask for another 1/16% or what, or
Bob's right.
10% or
If
something.
we say that we're just gonna go, and trust me, my situation is dire. I can't speak on behalf of the police. I can't speak on behalf of City Hall. All I know is we're in a building that is 50-plus years old, that was built for 4 guys to be there 24 hours a day with no EMS, running less than 700-800 calls a year. I am now with 8 guys a day, running 3,600 calls a day, with 3 ambulances inside of a station to keep the community safe. I have apparatus that is stored 6 blocks away that is not fair to the residents to have to run down the street to go get a second engine on a backup engine call. It's impossible. I got 8 guys sleeping in a room a third of the size of this council chambers, with no separation. 1 bathroom with 1 shower with a urinal that doesn't work and you can't flush it because it floods all over the floor on a regular basis. I don't have the answers if the police is separated and City Hall is separated. I think if I was a member of the community, I'd be like, well, why didn't you guys just do it all at the same time? You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. I hate to say it that way, but you are. I don't know what the right answer is. I guess the citizens have what they vote on. What is the right answer? All I can tell you is I don't feel right sitting here not telling you how dire my situation is for my guys to provide the services that we do to this community. Something needs to be done. Whether it goes to a levy, it doesn't go to a levy, something needs to be done, and not tomorrow, not next week, not a month from now. We have a $1.9 million piece of apparatus that's coming here in 8 months, and we have no place to put it. I said my piece.
I think you make really excellent
I
points,
mean,
Chief.
believe me when I tell you, we're sympathetic to it. It's just that, I mean, if we could all control what the voters do, I mean, we
I
would.
understand all that.
It's limiting our options of what we can do here.
But we didn't educate them as well as we could have.
And maybe they're listening today, and maybe they're hearing what we have to say. I don't know.
I do also think it's difficult when you have anything on a May ballot, because, I mean, I think you were at the meeting at the library. It was like snowing 2 weeks up until, I mean, it's hard to get people out there going door to door and doing those types of things when it's 30 degrees outside. Unfortunately, we had a very cold spring. And those, I feel like as long as I've worked in elections, and I know a lot of us have, that makes a difference. I mean, getting the full benefit of a summer and a fall to get out there, interact with people, put tables up at events. I was surprised at the park event for Easter. I mean, I was very surprised there wasn't a table. I thought there was going to be a table there for the levy committee where you're going to have large numbers of people gather, where you can give out that type of information. But, I mean, I'll put it on again, and I think that it wouldn't have, I'm not saying it's doomed, but I do think in order to kind of help it along, it's good for us to have the discussion of, hey, we're willing to kind of put this towards it or commit that towards it, where we didn't have that discussion before.
I think it has to have a selling point from every person in this room. And I don't just mean to say, yeah, let's put it on the ballot. I think you guys represent your wards, your district at large, that it needs to be endorsed and solicited by you guys as well as us to have this work. If not, we're recreating the Titanic. We're gonna sink just as bad as we did if we don't have 100% commitment and buy-in on this.
And Amy, to your point, economic development, the statistics show a new safety center
Is economic development.
is economic
Absolutely.
development. It improves property values.
Yeah.
So if it's economic development, why can't we use the RLF for part of
We
it?
can, but it's such a small amount.
But it's something. The thing is, if
well,
you take
that-
these little
that's true.
somethings and add them up, they add up to
Right.
something.
So even to your point with the marijuana money, if it's 27, 30,000 a month, hoping the state never pulls that, because if they do, we'd be up a creek at that point. We're looking at like 1.1 million a year.
I estimate
So-
about 60 years, if that was the only income source at about 2.5% interest. It would take us 60 years to raise that money, but think back to the Parks building that we talked about almost 2 years ago. When that architecture firm came forth with plans, they said costs increase on average 10% per year based on what they're seeing. So even if, and that's also not calculating for inflation either. You know, there's more nuance to it, but if we wait to use cannabis money, it will outlive.
I'm not saying-
I'm not saying that's the only way. I'm just saying that, just to say, it's a very small drop in the bucket for how to do it. So it's a drop, but still counts
But
because
I
you can
think it
accrue
does
interest
count.
too.
I think it does count when the voters ask us, well, what is the city doing?
They're-
That we
right,
have an
I agree.
answer.
If there's a
Well-
commitment from the city
But-
to say,
but
hey, we'll
I-
appropriate this much money on an annual basis, at least it shows that there's a buy-in as a whole,
Right.
and then we're not just putting the burden on the taxpayers.
And even if we say we don't know if it could go away tomorrow, but at least us saying that, hey, we're willing to take this money and we're willing to put it all in on this, even if it were just the idea that we're willing to commit the
Till the
funds.
well runs dry.
But it will not change what we put on the ballot.
I understand that, but it might change the voters' mind about how they're gonna check the box when it comes time for election day.
Okay.
About how they're gonna feel about what our investment is in it.
Well, I can give you some responses that I've been told directly from residents pertaining to what you said. Many of them have asked, well, how much money is there put aside from, some people might say it, city money or tax dollars, put aside the last 3-4 years? And I said, well, it's almost none compared to the price. And I was asked, why not? I said, well, I don't have those answers, and I'm not going to guess.
I mean, there's something to be said on that point too, because even if we did, funnel that money towards it, like, that's us not spending that money on other competing interests for things that we do need and, before the next 60 years kind of a
That
thing.
would benefit the city right away.
And the other comment,
To answer your question,
We ha-
you look at this tax budget, the very first line, 101,
yes,
that's the amount that, maximum amount that could be used, because everything else is earmarked for other things. The general fund is a $6.6 million balance, which is our rainy day fund and everything else.
What's in there now, 300 some odd thousand that we have set aside for this?
Or did we
For the
put,
reserve.
we're proposing another
Yeah,
300,000.
right, 600,000.
But right
yeah.
now, like today.
You're
it's like-
talking about what we've saved from
Yeah.
capital, 600,000.
and the other thing that I learned, I wouldn't have learned this if I wouldn't have been in the police and fire department different times. I was almost shocked, at sometimes appalled. I'll say in both departments, not the way they're operated, not the employees, but what's inside the building of what they have to work with that's inside. Because I know some things are several decades old that can't be redone because of the way the building is situated. Some things that Mr. Chappell has just mentioned, plus there's other things too. I know he probably didn't want to go into everything because of time. And there's, I could go on and on. I could have a speech about the things that are critical in each building that are extremely important.
Paul, you didn't have a sign. Was there a reason that you didn't put a sign in your yard for supporting this?
No, there isn't a specific reason.
So let me get back to some of the things we talked about post the May election. And one is because I did some analysis of prior income increases. We never, and we did two, one for streets and sidewalks and one for the safety operating budget. Neither one passed on the first attempt. And I've said at the beginning of this discussion, we shouldn't necessarily expect this one to pass on the first. The only difference is the other two started in November and ended in either March or May. This one we actually started in May. And now, if we do move this forward, it will be in November. And I guess, we did have challenges. For some reason, this May election brought out a lot of people because even though we lost pretty significantly from a 62 to a 38% margin, we had more people vote for this, for this levy than those who passed the streets and sidewalk one in May of 2015. So, there's a lot of things to consider, but I guess the question is, what does council want to do in this moment in time? The options are not real good. The simplest approach would be to move forward the way we did for May in November.
I don't mind putting it back on, but I think that I would like to see this council dedicate something more concrete. So at least when we go door to door, we can look people in the eye and say, I'm doing this, we're doing this. It's not enough by any means, but we're gonna put aside, we can commit what we can towards this project.
But again, we could say that, but would we, I think the problem with that is it could backfire.
Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it?
Because it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
It doesn't amount to anything that's going to change what we put on the ballot.
I think if we put like things that we are doing, these are some funds that we are using, but yeah, I can see Rob's point too, that it is a drop in the bucket compared to the amount that's needed. But I can see also if we use some of that funding and be creative, or if we invest some of it, I don't know if we're allowed to invest any of it and see if we make anything like for stocks or.
We're not restricted in any way, because I asked for guidance from the Attorney General's
Okay,
office. We're not
yeah, so these are
restricted in
things I think we need to talk about more at committee for the levy, but again, we need to see, people on my street saw that I had a sign. Carmen had a sign. Matt Harper had a sign in his yard. We need to see, we need to see people on our streets see that we support it. And that might encourage them, if they don't, to come up and ask us, hey, why aren't you supporting this? Or I noticed, you have a sign in your yard. They look at me and they come to me for questions in my neighborhood all the time. They look to see what I support. They look to see, because they trust me in my advice, and because they know I know what's going on at a city level, because that's my job. So I think it's important, as what Bob said and what Mark said, we need to have a universal front. And
without a doubt.
that needs to be out there publicly. And if we're going to talk up here on council and say how much we're going to support it, we need to be out there publicly as well. So I'm okay moving it forward, and I think that we need to.
And donate. A lot of us, I know up here, have also donated to the levy committee.
Yes.
And spent a lot of time. I canvassed all of Ward 1 by myself.
He did all of Ward 2 by himself.
Yeah, you did.
I did some work, too.
We're getting out there, and I do think it will benefit us, but I'm just saying that, we're going to get hit with some of these questions that we don't really have terrific answers for. But, I think we should go forward, but I also think maybe we should also be discussing, like, what if worse came to worse and we did have to do it in phases? What would that look like, and how much would it cost?
Well, I think tonight, my opinion, and I'm not the chair of this committee, but I think we need to go ahead and decide about pushing it forward, and then we talk about it, ideas and ways on the levy committee. And when we come up with ideas, then bring it back to council with the ideas that maybe the levy committee has come up with, or finance with the budget. And then at that time, we can,
And
come
Bob
up with
Walker-
things.
Bob Walker, is is he going to continue, or?
He won't chair, but
He'll be the
treasurer.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mind's always thinking, and when something comes to my mind, I just gotta throw it out, and maybe I'm just spitballing if it's totally like, you're coming up with something that's way off. But if the city's looking at whatever our carryover is, and let's just say the city's always comfortable with a $6-7 million carryover, why could the commitment not be, we could take a percentage of that carryover, or percentage of what's a minimum? Let's just say we're comfortable with 6 million, but we have a 7 million. We could take 500,000 and put that on there, which buys down the loan on that 30-year note that we're asking of the residents, which would not be a 30-year commitment for them, because we're putting that percentage in, which is reducing the balance off the principal right off the top.
Well,
So
Chief,
what we're asking is a 30-year, but maybe it's paid off in 25, and it's a win to them, because now they're not committed to it for that duration of time.
Well,
Maybe I'm wrong.
I would like to say, and I know we're going to talk about it in finance, but a good response, the right response to what you're saying, is we actually have a diminishing carryover. By right now, unless something changes, by $2 million for this year. So making a if something doesn't change,
We wouldn't make that payment unless our comfort zone was
But that
achieved
comfort-
and up and above.
But that comfort zone has diminished by $2 million in 1 year. So if there's 6 million this year, if everything stays the same, and it will diminish again to 4 million next year, then 2 million, then nothing. So.
It's not going to happen. But I like your idea, Chief Chappell. It's actually a good one, in the sense that we could even use the cannabis money. At a certain time
Yeah, we did
during the
talk
year, we
about
could
this.
say, hey, let's pay down the principal. That wouldn't affect our bond rating.
Right.
And if we have the money, we can do it. So if there's budgetary problems, we wouldn't necessarily commit to doing it.
Isn't that for what we have the funds to do,
And-
and the public has
and-
record of everything we do.
Right, and it would address your concern that we've got skin in the game.
Yeah,
Right.
and I do think that's important. And I don't mind chairing the levy committee. I love doing that stuff.
Yeah, I don't, well, you can,
What? I'm just putting it out there.
We would love you to chair the levy committee.
Thank you.
Just a quick thing, if
Actually-
I could add, we talked a couple years ago when we first started talking about this, about committing a portion from the 553, the capital improvement line. We ran then pretty tight, and we were buying a lot of things, and we were running pretty lean. Right now, I would recommend we didn't do it out of the general fund possibly, but we do have to be pretty careful because we're starting to trend downward a little bit. It is something we could talk about. We probably have to talk about it a little bit more in our building subcommittee, and do some more trend analysis before I say that I recommend that.
I mean, but as it stands, I think we should still move forward with putting this, I think we should move it forward for the ballot and out of our committee. I don't know how Amy feels about it, but I do think that while that's happening, there needs to be some strategic shifting in how we want to see this happen and how we're going to get this levy passed.
I'm okay with it.
And the first phase is, does council want to move it forward? If we get a yes, then a subcommittee will meet, and then we'll start strategizing.
yeah, absolutely.
We had this discussion at the last meeting, but we realized we shouldn't strategize until council wants to move it forward.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So if we're moving this forward as is, I mean, we'll look into this, but if there's no restriction, there's no requirement for multiple
Rob,
readings.
can I asked a question of Amanda Hopkins that helped us with the ballot language, and she answered me already. And she said with an income tax, there's no need for 3 readings and no need for a public hearing.
Okay.
Property taxes need 2 different meetings.
Oh, okay.
But, so,
So my suggestion would be to get ahead of this, to put it up for a vote in July, at a July regular meeting. And we can, I mean, we've already had 3 readings for the last election and a public hearing. And then we can get started sooner on all the marketing of this. That would just be my suggestion.
That's what I've proposed that we do.
That's fine.
Okay, and then our honorary member?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
And I believe we just need, we already found out from residents that they need more information or a different type of information.
Get
Okay.
out there. All right. So that one moves forward. All right, so annual codified ordinance update. Thank you, Chelsea. It's this thing right here. I guess this is just something that we have to do, where they put together all of our additions and updates. I would definitely characterize this as housekeeping.
Yeah, we've done it before. It's just a
Okay.
housekeeping issue.
Okay.
I agree
guess
with you.
everybody else has their folder. I'll receive mine. All right, so we're good moving this forward?
Yes.
All right. Data centers, okay, I put together something that was emailed with this packet. We have a moratorium in place, and with that comes some legal considerations. We can't just pass a moratorium and let it collect dust. We have to be having some discussion. These are just some things that I have thought about. I have the top things here, the list view. The first thing that we have to do is define data center, making sure, and I know we did it in our moratorium, that it includes cryptocurrency mining operations, AI computing facilities, and banning of large-scale data centers, which, to be honest with you, I don't even think that we have the room, but I think it's good to have it in there. Utility capacity, water consumption, the noise, emergency response. Data centers are going to require a unique type of emergency response because you cannot put them out with water. You need a specialized type of foam to be able to respond to that. Land use, our comprehensive plan goals, environmental impact, like proof of an EPA permit, and then economic development protection. One thing that I think that communities who have struggled with data centers can agree on is that initially these places come in and they say that they're bringing a lot of jobs, and initially they are because they have to build these buildings, but once they're built, they run on very few people. So what it does is it takes up space for something that could be hiring dozens and dozens of people and replacing it with something that only needs a few people to run it. So that's what I mean. I know I've broken down my list about different things, and I don't want to go over all of them tonight because I do want people to get a chance to look at these. And honestly, my recommendation would be if people supported it, and I know the mayor's not here and he's technically the chair of the planning commission, but I do think that this is what planning commissions are for. They're meant to kind of consider these things and make recommendations. Because ultimately, if it's conditional use, they're going to be the ones that are going to hear the requests from these companies. And I want to be clear for people listening to the public because, you know, nobody in politics has control over headlines or pictures. But I would like to say that having this discussion is a legal necessity because we have a moratorium. This isn't coming on tonight for discussion or going on a planning commission potentially to their agenda because we're looking at bringing one in and we want to make it possible and pave the way. This is something, again, it's a legal requirement, and I think that we have to cover ourselves that way. And I think that if anything were to come, we have to have all of these things in place so that we could tell the community that we were responsible with their trust and consideration. and continue to see what the state does with them, although the state is only looking at banning large-scale data centers. So that would be over 25 megawatts, which is not even what, we're not looking at large scale. I know we already don't have the room for those things. So I just want to have that tonight for people to kind of look over some of the things that we're talking about. And some of these things are obvious, like we would only allow them in heavy industrial areas, like so far from residential, so far from a hospital, and then requiring different impact reports. Environment being at the top of the list, but also financial impact that they would have on our community. So I don't know if anybody has, I'd like to meet with you too about some of these, because this was me sitting at work thinking, oh yeah, I should mention this, and trying to write some notes down.
I think you did a very good job, and, you know, being proactive is the only way we can stay on top of this and not sleep on this and just pretend that it's not happening, because it is happening minute by minute, day by day. We're seeing as our, you know, community north of us is what they're battling with, and other communities around Portage County are battling with. So I want to be as consistent and strong as we can, and I think everything that you've listed here is really, really well done. So I would have never thought of some of this stuff, to be honest with you.
Well, I have books that I ordered a month and a half ago, and I've been reading, and I mean, just so much, and people keep sending me stuff, but I do think one thing that is also notable about the whole data center issue is it's blind of party. This is not a partisan issue. This isn't a Democrat or a Republican thing. This is a people environment issue that is really bringing people together, and especially in Portage County. And I know that some people have been in attendance around the county, in Shalersville, and understand that even if Ravenna has a moratorium on this, that if Shalersville were to go ahead and make an exception, that this impacts us too. This impacts our power grid, this impacts, they're using the groundwater. I think that this is something we all need to be paying attention to. And just to speak to some of the safety stuff, I know I mentioned, one of the things that would be a requirement is that they would have to pay for all of the equipment you would need and all of the training that you would need to put out such a fire, and all of the continuing education that would go along with it. That's just one of the, like, 200 things that I put on my list. But that's a priority because there's been over 80 data center fires in Ohio this year. And so these things are a reality. They create and generate a lot of heat. And I know that there's, you know, already some heat island issues when it comes to the city when you look at these things. So there's lots of different angles to consider, and I want to make sure that we do the residents justice by making sure that we explore each and every one of these.
The Economic Development Director has asked if we could invite somebody, perhaps from Team NEO, to come and talk to us. Because
Yeah.
I think the one component you're missing is, what are the pros of having a data center?
If he is okay with having another meeting here, and I promise you, if he wants
Well-
them to come, we will rent out the stadium if we have to,
Well,
because
I
of the
was
amount of
thinking
people that will be
maybe-
here.
Maybe
And
the
I think-
auditorium at the high school or something like that.
And I think our economic development director needs to honestly have a talk with council, because this is something, I mean, I know he doesn't work with council, but I think we've made it quite clear that this is something right now we're not really
Well-
interested in.
But our ordinance on the moratorium said we would study this. And I think it's only fair, not to say I'm for data centers, don't
I'm
get me
just
wrong.
saying that
But if we want
understand
to, if we
that-
want to have, and we've used the term legally defensible
Right?
code, I think we do need to do some investigation from those who might support this. and there may be few, and there may be a ton of people who come and oppose it, that's fine.
I think it's
But-
a certainty.
Yeah, but I do think, look, it'll look a lot better for whatever restrictions we put on data centers to make sure we haven't created a one-sided study.
Well, we do have residents, by the way, that are volunteering their time and the space in front of their homes and businesses to sign petitions. We have residents and employees of the city who have gone all the way down to Columbus and testified against these things. I have no problem holding some type of a forum with people of different sides, but I just hope that they're ready for Ravenna.
Yeah,
And
well,
I don't think that anytime soon is good with especially the environment we're in. I want to be consistent and first understand everything I can negative about them and what's going on before I even entertain listening to the other.
well, why does it have to be one before?
Because
the
I
other?
want to hear everything and learn as much as I can.
Right, but you said you wanted to hear all the negative
Yeah, I want to
first.
hear the negative first. I want to hear the negative. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, it could be an opportunity to have a holistic view of what are the counterpoints that need to be addressed by
Right,
the other side.
yes.
Well, that's what I was saying, like,
I
wouldn't
find
it be
it
better?
worrisome that, to me, our economic development director sees any reason to draw any positive or pro that we could, I mean, I get legally defensible, but I hope he is watching and listening to our community, that there is no, this is not economic development. It is not, they do not have long-term employees. They poison the environment. There is literally no benefit, and I think that we potentially run the risk of angering beyond a boiling point this community by telling them that our own economic development director is going to sponsor some people that have great things to say about data centers. And I want to make it clear that I don't stand with that line of thinking, and I reserve my right to worry about an economic development director that feels like there is a benefit to us not listening to the residents. So
But,
that's my
okay,
opinion on that.
and you're, you know, you can take that up with the economic development director. But I want to get back to this point because I think look, I know where you guys stand. My point is this: if we listen to the pros first, then all those negatives afterwards can rebut that. But if you put the pros at the end, you're reversing it, or have it in the middle, I don't know. But I think a fair discussion would be, you know, to try to interject. I would prefer to hear, and not necessarily have to be sooner than later, but I would like to hear from those people who think that this is a good idea, and they could tell us why, and then all those negative people could come and tell us why they're wrong.
And I wonder how much these people are financially benefiting from these data centers.
Well, I don't know that Team Neo directly does. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but that's a good question to ask them.
Yeah,
And I've already found out that some individuals that are looking for a house, when they find out there's a possibility of a data center, they say, forget the house, we're looking elsewhere. Because we don't want to have to possibly contend with the negative effects after things possibly might get going.
I don't see, I honestly, I just,
I think, yeah, we probably shouldn't talk about that part of it anymore. I'm glad you brought that up personally, but I think right now it's still very touchy subject to the residents, and I do respect the fact that that was brought up, and if Carbon chooses to have it in her committee, when and that is up to you, and unless you want to maybe present it to council, and you can present it as,
You could
you
do
know?
it either way. I mean, you know, I think, you know, whether we had a special meeting or, and I do think we need to have at least one public hearing.
Where?
Well, again, you know.
It's not
this-
here.
We could probably go to the high school and ask them to use their auditorium.
First, you want to find out what it will cost.
There's usually a fee for an audio engineer.
Guaranteed.
Well, okay, I mean, these are
Maybe it
not,
can
these are
come out
not
of Dennis's
substantial
economic
barriers.
development
I mean,
fund.
Well, no, it's not a barrier, it's just the facts.
Since he wants them there, the Team Neo, I mean, the hair's standing up on the back of my neck thinking about how this is gonna go down. There's gonna be protesters outside. I don't want people getting the impression that we at all support this or are changing our mind or we're wavering in our support of what the community desires. And that's the bottom line of this. The community made it very, very abundantly clear that they do not want anything to do with these operations. So I don't think, and I think Shalersville found out, it doesn't matter what billionaire, millionaire comes into town, even if they buy food from a local restaurant or whatever their little enticement is. I think these places think that we're all a bunch of country bumpkins that don't know anything, and that they're gonna come in here and they're gonna razzle dazzle us with a free meal and some pretty
No,
pictures
nobody's
on
talking
an
about
easel.
No, I've seen those things before with other.
But that's not what I'm talking about. But my biggest concern is the legal challenge we'll face if it's a predetermined thing that we're gonna ban them.
We're not banning them. It's what
Well,
it is we're putting,
again,
we're
you know,
creating, we're
that's how you-
putting something in the code. And other communities are codifying this like Kent. They're a little bit ahead of us. But this is where I got a lot of these ideas from. And they're doing this without a circus coming to town of having the people who are benefiting financially from this saying why it's good.
And,
Well, but I don't, look, I mean, again, it's more legally defensible for us to engage and learn as much as we can about them and then make these decisions. And I'm not saying I'm for them. I'm just saying if we exclude the fact that there's how many hundreds of them in the state of Ohio?
And look at the problems that are coming.
Well,
That's
but
it.
again, but they do exist.
They do,
And more
but
of them will likely
They
exist.
came in the middle of the night when
But-
people weren't prepared, and now we're seeing results.
Well,
We were
if-
almost caught
if it's a-
unawares.
If you're gonna say it's a foregone conclusion, then we won't invite anybody on the pro side. But I think we will be challenged by people who say council didn't do its due diligence
Not
by
people that live
studying
here.
it.
Well, they were welcome to come to the meeting we already did have, and nobody, and Dennis West was at that meeting. He did not come to the podium and say anything in favor. Nobody, not one person came to that podium and said anything for it, and they had the opportunity. It was open to everybody. So I don't know what there is to gain. I don't think that would make it very far in a court of law. I think that doing these kinds of things shows that we are looking into it. And I think letting Planning Commission take a look at some of these things. And again, I mean, other communities who are codifying these types of things are not having forums of people who are
You
pro.
just mentioned Shalersville.
Huh?
Shalersville invited residents.
Look how that turned out.
Well, but they did it. I mean, that's how it turns out is how it turns out. But, I mean, I don't know. Are there other people on council who just don't want to hear from the other side at all?
I just don't want a riot in our community.
Well, I'm hoping you're assuming our community is that, you know.
They're gonna be out there protesting.
Does
Well, there's
anybody in the
nothing wrong with
audience
that.
have
They have a
anything?
right to protest. I mean, we
But I
have,
don't want them thinking that because this is what's going on with the Shalersville trustees, is that because they did that, people are thinking that they're wavering on their support and they're getting chastised for it, and I don't want that to happen to us because we know where we stand on it.
well, what other, I just want to get a feel for if there's other council people who.
Please.
If we don't want to, if there's no desire to do it, that's fine. We'll let the Economic Development Director know.
I think data centers are a lot, like they are a tool of sorts, just like many things are in life. But I'll tell you right now, I don't need to go to a pro-asbestos thing to realize I shouldn't be putting it in places where I could inhale it or it could be, ingestible and things like that too. I mean, to a degree, I do see a fairness of being, just like journalism. It's like you want to get both sides of a story in order to tell an objective truth. There are some benefits to having data centers, not AI data centers from my perspective, But like, there are businesses that don't have a ton of money to have hard drives or servers sitting in their own buildings, or their buildings might not have, like, for just the old school type of data centers that were just like basic file storage and those kind of things, or, you know, like just not as incredibly as electrically demanding as all of this parallel processing with accelerated graphics cards and all that stuff like that. So like, and we've had data centers in the sense of the old sense, from like IBM and things like that. Like there is a need and a use for a safe place to back up your photos and storage. But that doesn't mean it needs to be something that has like 25 megawatts worth of power and has all these impacts. So it's like, do you need a tool like that, if there are other tools and less expensive, less costly ones that can still deliver those type of services, just not that? Like, I don't see the
How about we
greatest
do
benefit
this? How
of
about
it.
we give council the opportunity to look into Team Neo and then decide if that's something that we want to showcase here, sponsored by council committee?
I don't, what do you mean,
The
look into?
people that want to put this on.
Well, Dennis, or Mr. West just reached out to me and asked if, you know, because he ran into the CEO of Team Neo, and asked, because that person has been doing these kind of presentations to various government entities. And I said I'd ask, and I'm just asking now.
It's so weird that he didn't contact me, and this is my committee.
And he didn't contact any of us.
I mean, it was, the moratorium is already in place. So whatever discussions we have don't necessarily have to come back to committee. We could hold a public hearing,
And
as a special meeting.
What a coincidence he ran it. Where would he be running into somebody that was pro-data
He goes to
center?
meetings where all these people show up. I could go back and refer to the email and give you what meeting he ended up running into him for.
And there's no economic development of any type.
I mean,
What do you-
I think if you're saying like for like the land use case, comparatively, if you're looking for like jobs for the same amount of land, yeah, there's different opportunities for that. And there is a cost if you put in a type of business that doesn't require people to work there as
I mean,
many.
is this kind of
comparatively.
effort being rolled out for our downtown businesses? I mean, that's the thing, like, economic development is not just these big industrial people. I mean, it's also it's everywhere. And I don't want to see that neglected at the expense of trying to force feed us something that we already know is toxic.
Okay, well, I'm just asking if council doesn't want to do this, fine, I'll tell our economic development person, no, we don't want to hear from
I'm
them.
not in favor of it, but I mean, I'll
Is
respect
anybody?
council's
I'm not in favor of it. Not at this time.
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I'm not seeing it get a lot of traction either.
Yeah.
management update.
Oh.
Oh,
It's up
I'm
to
sorry.
her.
Go ahead, come to the,
Microphone.
Larry Selenius, 123 North Walnut. Just a quick response to Tyler's remarks. It seems to me these days almost all data processing services are provided over the internet. So you really don't need a close-by data center. We don't need them in Ohio.
And that's true, there's good redundancy in having, like, there's some benefit for time-sensitive type things, like financial transactions are processed in incredibly short amount of time. Like, I think there's less than 100 milliseconds that a server has an opportunity to, at a banking server to process, is this a fraud transaction or not? So sometimes latency can be an issue, but then again, not everybody's running a banking server in their community too. So it's like, yeah, there are the right things for the right places, but we don't need these everywhere. I agree, Larry.
did anybody else want to speak? Go ahead.
Probably not a relative comment, but Rob does have a point about knowing your enemy, if you consider these an enemy. So maybe it is time for a discussion, maybe not an auditorium with 1,000 people that could cause a riot is not the place. Maybe a couple of pages in the newspaper, these are the pros, these are the cons. That way no one's involved, no one gets hurt. But you have to know who you're against, you really do. And I think you've seen around the state reasons why we don't want them in Ravenna or in Portage County, and I agree with that. But this is a democracy. You're supposed to see both sides. Everybody should. And I think that in this case, the Portage County residents and the Ravenna residents will make the right decision and communicate it with all of you.
Anybody else? Okay, so for right now, I'll put this back on for next month, and maybe we could discuss letting Planning Commission take a look and come up
I
with
think
some
that's a good
recommendations.
idea, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right, sorry, was there a management update? I will end this meeting at 7:29.
It's 7:29. I'll call to order the Finance Committee. We only have one item on the agenda, and that's our 2027 tax budget. You have in front of you the analysis for 2027. The tax budget is just a precursor, a estimate of what the budget will be. We'll pass the final version sometime in 2027 or perhaps earlier.
Correct, we'll see. We may do it earlier than our normal February, March for the permanent budget. This is preliminary. I have a few departments I haven't met with, but gives us a general idea of where we're going to be at. Our funds overall are still healthy at the end of the year. We've got our water, our sewer, our street department. Our general fund is trending downwards. We've got rising costs, rising operating costs, payroll costs. So, like we talked about earlier, we need to be cautious what we're doing with our general fund. But overall, and I will be making a few tweaks, and I'll send the full budgets out. Carmen and Rob got to see the preliminary full budgets last week. We're having another meeting on Wednesday to talk about it. But overall, I'm trying to stay as close as I can with staying in the estimated revenues, not being too far from the appropriations. The difference here, a big part of it is we're putting $1.5 million in for the SCADA system planning and design. So that's kind of boosted up the appropriations, but that will be coming out of the sewer fund. So that's all encompassed in that fund. But I'll send everything else out with a lot more data in the next couple weeks. So if you have any questions then, let me know.
Does anybody have any questions about what's in front of you tonight? I know it's sort of a summary. Okay, anything else, Ms. Lawrence?
Nothing else today.
Okay, then at 7:32, I will adjourn the Finance Committee, and I think we're done for tonight.
I believe you're correct.
Turn the light off. Look at this.